Let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the meeting. Thank you all for joining the telemedicine kickoff call. My name is Michelle, and I'm the project lead for telemedicine, helping patients with access to care as well as the Transitions to Home project. Just some meeting reminders. Your lines are muted to avoid background noise. You will have the opportunity to ask questions after the presentation. You may enter questions in the chat. We ask that you be present and engaged, and this will be recorded and posted in IPRO Learn. So this quality improvement activity has three main focuses: to increase the number of patients starting directly on home by 30%, to increase the number of patients transitioning to home by 12%, and the one we're focusing and talking about today is to increase the number of telemedicine usage for patients in rural areas by 3%. So who is included in this project? Facilities with home programs who treat patients from rural zip codes and facilities in rural zip codes with a home program are included in this project. And what is the goal of this project? So the goal is optimizing the use of telemedicine to connect rural patients, as well as increase the use of telemedicine to ensure that rural patients have equal access to home therapies. So basically, making sure that patients that live in rural areas are getting access to their care team. So I'm going to review kind of where we're at for each of the 4 networks that we cover and how we're doing with this telemedicine goal. So this is kind of how we look at telemedicine for each network. So this bar right here that says the option 2-year goal, this is the network 1 telemedicine goal, is to have 249 telemedicine visits throughout this option year. And as far we've achieved 132 telemedicine visits, and we have 117 left to go. And then we break those down to each month of where we're at for each goal. And as you can see, we've been exceeding the goal each month in Network 1. So we're doing really well in Network 1. Same for Network 2. In this option year, we have 297 telemedicine visits that we need to do. And we've achieved 137 so far this year with 160 left to meet. And we break that down each month, and we've been exceeding the goal each month in Network 2. And Network 6 is the same with the goal of 1,361, 583. And each month we've been exceeding the goal of telemedicine visits. And then Network 9, this option year goal is 971, and we've achieved 358 so far in these first 3 months of our option year goal. So IPRO Learn is a kind of like our one-stop shop. So if you look under what's new or recent announcements, you can see if there's anything due for the current month for telemedicine. That's where we would list any interventions. Under the QIA best practices, at times we'll list, which would be under this section, at times we'll list any best practices or success stories that we might hear. And for telemedicine, it would be under the Your Treatment, Your Choice emblem, which is this first one in the discussion board. And then the box to the right, which is right here, the QI toolkits, and it has the red arrow pointing at the telehealth telemedicine toolkit. That's where you'll find any resources for telemedicine listed in IPRO Learn. So in IPRO Learn every other month there may be an activity listed there for telemedicine. And you could go in, look at the activity, complete the activity, and then it'll be marked done and complete for that month for your facility. So some dialysis providers have their own platform that they use to perform the telemedicine visits on. If your dialysis company or facility does not have a platform, there is one called DoxyMe. It's a free service platform that you can use to do telemedicine visits. The website states you do not need to download or install. It has a waiting room for patients to wait in until you're ready to see them. It also has a meeting history to keep track of every session, and it's mobile friendly. These are some other resources with connectivity or devices that your patients may need. So Affordable Connectivity and Assurance Wireless, they help with like internet service, smartphones, funds, towards purchasing a laptop, a desktop, or a tablet. And I also put a link in here for Neighborhood Navigator. You might be able to put in your local like zip code and see if there are any other local resources out there that might be able to help your patients as well. If they need any internet services or smartphone or any other type of devices to help connect them. So this is a patient checklist to help them organize for their telehealth visit. The patients can have their information gathered and ready for their visit prior to the meeting with their treatment team. So this checklist can be really helpful. It can review things like they can have their vitals ready, things they might want to follow up with the treatment team or the physician, and things that they might need support with, like maybe ordering supplies or questions they might have about specific supplies. And it can just help them get organized and ready for the telehealth visit. And then this checklist can be used as a provider checklist, just some information on why to use telehealth, how it can be used effectively, as well as like how to engage your patients during your telehealth visit. And these are some other resources, and you can find all of these resources on our IPRO Learn platform or on our website. So this telemedicine is here to stay, and here's why. This reviews how telemedicine can help you and how it can be successfully used. The left-hand side is for the patient, and the right-hand side is for the provider. So report cards. I wanted to talk about the monthly report cards that your facility will be receiving. You probably received some of those last year, and then it's been a few months since you've received them in this option year. We have been working on revamping the report cards, kind of rewriting them, trying to make them a little bit more clear. But the report cards, again, will list your facility goal, as well as how many visits you've had so far this year, which we look at the CMS year, which is May through April, and it will review the list of patients on the report card. They're listed by their UPI numbers, which is given to them in EQRS. So if your patient had a telemedicine visit, it will show up on your report card. And if they haven't had a telemedicine visit, it will say like, on the report card, these patients could have a visit, and it'll list the patients with their UPI number. So you can kind of compare your report card to the patients that you have in the facility, so you'll know who's in the rural zip code or what patients are eligible for the telemedicine visits. And then again, we get our data from Medicare claims data, so it's only going to show Medicare patients, and it would be through the billings. And then if you have any questions about the data or report cards or anything else, you can always submit a ticket through our help desk. And the link is provided on this slide. And please remember not to use any patient information as it is a security violation. Only use the patient's UPI number, and we'll get back to you through the help desk with that an answer to your questions. Any questions or comments that you have about telemedicine? Or you can put your questions in the chat. That's all I had today. So thank you for attending the telemedicine kickoff call. I'll stay on a couple more minutes just in case anybody has any questions in the chat. But otherwise, you can log off if you don't have any questions. All for coming. And this will be recorded and shared in IPRO Learn, just in case anybody